What's up, friend? I'm Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business podcast, the show created for videographers to build a better business, make a bigger impact, and enjoy the journey. Today's episode is all about why a mission statement for your company is junk. Yeah, you heard me. Yeah, I'm getting real bold and mean on this episode. You're also going to learn some huge reasons why solopreneurs should consider creating a vivid vision. And if you're growing and you feel like you're getting ready to make your first hire, you're going to learn exactly what you need in this episode. Promise. Gold. Coming soon to some earballs near you. Earballs? I don't know. Hey, if you want to meet and network with other video business owners, make sure that you join our free Facebook group where you can pose questions, you can post your work, you can get feedback, and also find people that you can do work with. If you're shooting out of state, if you need help with an edit, this community is here for you. Go to studiosherpas.com/Facebook, and it will forward you to the Grow Your Video Business Facebook group, or you can just go on Facebook and type in Grow Your Video Business, and you will find the group there. Hope to see you inside of that group. Hope you get plugged in and connected to a lot of other filmmakers that are doing amazing things, ultimately so that you can grow your business and make a bigger impact. With that, let's hop into this ad for the show from one of our amazing sponsors, Core Group, and then we will get on with all of the other things. Let's go. If there was one thing that could have ended my business 17 years ago, it would be because of the numbers. I hate accounting, taxes, W-9s, W-2s, W-40s, spreadsheets, all of that stuff. And I hate it mostly because I'm afraid of it. I'm just not great with numbers. If this sounds familiar, or if you're so new in your business that it's not even on your radar yet, you need Core Group. Core Group can help you create financial systems and tax strategies that you need so you can grow profitably, and they've been doing this for over 20 years. They become an extension of your team so that you can stay in your lane of expertise and then lean on them to help guide you along the way. For me, having a team of experts in my corner to help keep track of our books and just to make sure that we're budgeting for taxes appropriately, to have an actual strategy for our taxes and our accounting is priceless, and it allows me to sleep easier at night knowing that I don't have to be an expert in that arena. If you want to avoid surprises in your video business and you want experienced help building a plan for the future that you want, both professionally and personally, head over to studiosherpas.com/core for more information. And when you're ready to set up a free consult with them, make sure to mention Studio Sherpas for a special discount too. Got your back. Get more out of your accountant. Go to studiosherpas.com/core. What is up, my friends? Hey, welcome to this episode. I have a very special guest today, Cameron Herold, who is the mastermind behind hundreds of companies' exponential growth and has earned his reputation as the business growth guru. Say that 3 times fast. I recently I was recommended his book, Vivid Vision, by a mastermind that I'm in, and people were like, oh, you gotta, Ryan, with where you're at in your business and, kind of the things that you're talking around. Basically, they were telling me I needed clearer vision. So I listened to Cameron's book, and I was like, this is gold, and I really wanted to bring him on to share with you. So Cameron, welcome to the Grow Your Video Business podcast.
Hey Ryan, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm glad you read Vivid Vision. That's awesome.
Yep, I'm going through it a second time. I actually have 3 weeks of vacation coming up starting on Sunday, and guess what I'm going to do over the course of those 3 weeks?
Well, let me give you a different way to read it then. I've written about the concept of Vivid Vision in 3 of my books. So I wrote about it in Vivid Vision. In my first book, I covered it in chapter 1. It's called Double Double. And then I also wrote about it in The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs that I co-authored with Hal Elrod. So, you might be able to pick up either The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs or Double Double and read it there and just get a different viewpoint on the same concept. Might be more helpful for you.
That is amazing. I didn't realize that you helped write the Miracle Morning. I just talked to a friend who has I think he's 13 or 14-year-old son who is practicing the Miracle Morning.
Well, Hal wrote the original Miracle Morning, and then he's done a few others after. So we did the Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs version together about two years ago.
I love that.
It's huge. It's now in, I think, 6 countries as well.
That's amazing. And funny story, I just heard another book called From 6 to 7 Figures. And in one of the first chapters, I can't remember the author's name, but he mentions he mentions vivid vision. And I was like, oh, man, this is like, I'm getting hit on all sides. So this is
Cool.
serendipitous.
There you go.
Well, tell me actually, give me your best definition of like what the heck is vivid vision and why should we be talking about this today?
Well, and remind me, because I want to tell you a funny story of when I was building 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and we were going to do some in-house corporate videos of how that went, because there's some really cool stuff that we did that might be helpful for some of your audience. It may not be as well. I don't know. It just occurred to me. So the concept of the vivid vision is something that I actually learned from an Olympic coach. I was a part of a mastermind called the Young Entrepreneurs Organization. It's now called the EO. They got rid of the Y. It's now called the Entrepreneurs Organization. I was a member in the Vancouver chapter, and we were invited down to a lunch, and 120 entrepreneurs got invited. Only 16 of us went. And this high-performance sports psychologist was teaching us how athletes used visualization. And he got us to understand how athletes did it and talk to us about how we could bring it into the business world. And that was where the process of the vivid vision really came from, was understanding how to get the idea in our mind of what our company looks like, acts like, and feels like, how to get that out of our mind and onto paper so that others can read it and they can see what we can see. And it just kind of has evolved since then. But that's where the concept was learned, and it's now being used in about 26 countries around the world.
So you were working at 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and you went to this session.
It was before the 1-800-GOT-JUNK days. When I learned about it, I was president of a private currency company. And Brian, the founder of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, his business was about $1 million in revenue, called the Rubbish Boys. He and myself and another member of our forum group all went to the lunch together. We all learned about the concept at the same time. And then we went back to my office and sat in my boardroom, and I worked on mine for the private currency company. Yeah. Brian started working on his for what was called the Rubbish Boys, became 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and then Dan started working on his. So that was where we learned it. Two years later, I went and joined Brian as his second in command. I walked into 1-800-GOT-JUNK as the 14th employee. And when I left 6.5 years later, we had 3,100 employees system-wide. So Brian's vision idea was really what we rolled out. He called it a painted picture. And then I was the one to reverse engineer his vision, right? I took his vivid vision and figured out how to make it happen.
That's amazing. And I'm guessing over the years, your kind of definition of vivid vision has changed and morphed and kind of progressed and whatnot. But for you, what was the moment that you said, man, this is something that could be replicated by other companies? And I mean, it has become like one of I would say the greater parts of your mission to help other companies.
It's my BHAG for sure. My big, hairy, audacious goal is to replace vision statements with vivid visions worldwide, because that one sentence vision doesn't align anybody. We all know it's nonsense, right? We mashed up 7 words into a sentence and said, go team. So when I saw it really start to kick in was when I started coaching some companies. So I left 1-800-GOT-JUNK in May of 2007 after 6.5 years being there. And I started coaching 3 entrepreneurial organizations, and all 3 of them lit up. And they lit up partially because of this vivid vision concept that I taught them, and then started putting the plans in place, the foundational blocks to make their vivid vision come true. And they've all done very, very, very well. One went on, I think, 5 years in a row to rank as one of the top companies in Canada to work for. So that's where I saw it really start to work. And then just over the years, I've been paid to speak in 26 countries, talking about this concept and other systems that I use to scale companies. When I see it working in multiple countries by companies of all different sizes, it just became obvious that it was the missing piece for all companies.
Yeah, that's great. And you bring up a good point. This is kind of, our audience, we're mostly talking to smaller businesses that might just be one person or just a few people. Talk about how this can be helpful, because it can seem like, well, why do I need if I'm just working with contractors, if I'm hiring contractors and I'm the one that's mostly just working with clients, like, why is it important for me as a solopreneur or, the founder of a very small company?
It helps you attract talent. It helps you attract contractors who want to work for you or work with you. It helps you attract clients who are excited about the vision of what you're building and they want to be a part of that journey. I think back to when we hired this video guy, Jonathan, in Vancouver. It was around 2002, and we were doing some videos at 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And Jonathan was a student at Vancouver Film School, and at night he literally stole the equipment from Vancouver Film School, came out with us over the weekend and filmed for us, and then brought the equipment back to the school. And he submitted the work that he was doing for us as a project, but he showed us what his vision for his company was going to be, and we got excited to help him. So we kind of picked Jonathan as the guy to help build it. And now Jonathan owns a group. I think it's still called Base 2. He's got dozens and dozens of employees in Vancouver and does some really cool film projects. And it's really interesting to see what he's done. But we got excited about his vision, so we picked him instead of picking a more proven entity that we didn't know really anything about them. Their website didn't really communicate, didn't speak to us. The other reason that a solopreneur or a very small entrepreneur wants to have a vivid vision is it starts to provide a filter for them to say yes and no to opportunities. Yeah. It also provides a bit of an internal compass that when you reread your vivid vision every month or every quarter, it keeps lining you in the direction, and your intuition just gets stronger and stronger because of it.
I love that. You talk about it in the book, about writing it out, and I just love, it's like, it's way more than just like a 1-sentence, 7-word mission statement, but there's like all these different aspects of, what you want the vision of your company to be. And I've found personally so much power in writing that stuff out. I think a lot of people could they could listen to your book, they could read your book, they could listen to this podcast and be like, oh, that's really good. I should totally do something like that. But I think there's a lot of power when, your fingers grab that pen or pencil and start actually carving it out on paper.
Yeah, there begins to be a lot of excitement about it as well. And the excitement from the entrepreneur tends to be that they start to get clarity on what they're building. It starts to make sense to them. Mm-hmm. And almost like building a home, you can start to see which pieces have to be put in place first. We can get all excited building a home about hanging the cabinets in the kitchen or putting in the Wolf stove, but we got to build the foundation, and then we got to put up the walls, and we got to put in the electrical and the plumbing. And a lot of the stuff that seems stupid all of a sudden makes sense. So when you're a solopreneur, defining your company's core values seems kind of dumb because it's just me. Yep. But when all of a sudden you define your core values, and then you pick customers based on core values, and you pick suppliers based on core values, all of a sudden it starts to supercharge your organization. Mm-hmm. So it starts to provide some reasoning behind some of the what we've been told to do as business people. It starts to make sense. And many entrepreneurs are also pushing, and creatives push back against authority, right? We don't like the school system. We don't like being told what to do. So when we hear that we should have a BHAG, or we should have a vision, or we should have core values, we're like, fuck you, I'll do it my way. Well, that usually leads yourself to being a solopreneur forever, right? And part of entrepreneurship for me is the ability to build something that throws off free time for me, right? I take 8 to 10 weeks vacation every year that I don't work. I never work weekends, and I never work nights. So when I take that much free time, it's because my business is running for me. Right. And it throws off cash, right? So the vivid vision, I guess, provides a filter and a foundation and a map for that entrepreneur on what they're building as well.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's super powerful. It really is. This morning, I got a text from a former employee. He said, hey, guess who just reached out to do some video work with me? And it was like, we've had over the last 17 years, I've probably had like 5 clients that I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are probably the worst people on the planet. Well, this person ends up being one of them, and he's like trying to work with, a former employee, and he's like, I'm going to tell him like, heck no. And the funny thing is, I came into the office this morning, and I looked, and I had an email from him who I think he emailed us as soon as my former employee said like, no thanks. He's like, are you still in business? I got a quick little project. And if I didn't have clarity on the kind of clients that we want to work with, it would be tempting to say, man, this guy's got a ton of money. He's got a handful of businesses. He's super successful, has a private jet, all this stuff. but he is a jerk. I mean,
It's
he
just not
just,
fun. It's just and what happens when you say yes to the wrong opportunity is it spins negative energy into the rest of your business, right? So, I'll tell you as an example right now, I'm saying no to 85% of the podcast requests I'm getting
oh,
because either the shows are too small or it's the wrong audience or I just don't have the time. So I'm being very selective. And
wow.
that's because I'm very clear on what I'm building, that saying no more often than I say yes is actually helping me get to my vision, right? I'm actually saying no to more of my coaching prospects. I'm not
Mm,
coaching anywhere near as many clients as I used to. I coach 16 entrepreneurs right now. I probably say no to 85% of my potential coaching clients. And I'm trying to actually take my number of 16 down to about 6 a year to free up my time to either have more life or build my COO Alliance. So that vivid vision again provides a filter for what can see, like again, speaking events. I used to love that I did paid speaking events in 26 countries. Now the thought of flying somewhere to do a speaking event makes me physically ill. So I'm saying no to most speaking events unless
yeah.
they're over Zoom or unless
Hmm.
I'm right, so
Yeah, and the idea of that negative energy, like if we were to take this project on, my whole team would just like, go from like, hey, I'm a 9 out of 10 today to hey, I'm a 6, I'm a 5 because I've got to talk with this client. And then what we don't realize is like that interaction that has a negative impact on us. It's not a great experience for this client either. He has a hard time working with all people. But then what we do is we take that to our next client, our next project.
right.
And so it impacts way more than just this relationship in this project with this one client.
Yeah. And by the way, like you're talking about what's known as quantum physics or quantum mechanics, where at the molecular level we're energy, right?
Mm,
As humans, whether you believe in God or believe in science, at the molecular level we are energy. We're neutrons and protons bouncing around, and the key is to get that energy moving in the
hmm.
same direction.
Yeah.
And we've seen it. If you go to a cocktail party and everybody's having fun and some negative person walks in, it changes the group, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
if you walk into a biker bar and you're a couple of ballet dancers, it changes the energy of the room. Like so energy changes energy, and the key is what energy do you want to surround yourself with, and that vivid vision provides again more of that filter.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. The filter, the boundaries, the things that you can easily fall into those bad relationships or those negative without, if you don't really reflect and think like, well, why didn't this project go well, or what is the scoop? It's like, man, this person doesn't care about people. He's on a mission to make as much money. He might want to make an impact in the world, but it's not through relationships and like trying to be a good human to other humans. So I think
Yeah.
that's really important. When you kind of you've written a bunch of books, you've traveled, you've had a massive impact on a lot of people, a lot of businesses, and a lot of businesses that are doing such good stuff in the world. So I'm just curious, when you have quiet time and you're journaling and just reflecting or whatever, what today or recently, what is a really proud moment or something that you're just like, man, I am so grateful to have been able to be a part of this or to be working on this.
Well, I mean, if I lean back throughout all of my career, certainly building 1-800-GOT-JUNK, because I was the second in command of that business and known for, Brian and I are the ones known for building it over the whole
Mm-hmm.
team. And, we ranked as the number 2 company in Canada to work for. We got our company on Oprah. We, got to 3,000 employees. We just won every award, right? Twice
Yeah.
ranked number 1 to work for in British Columbia. If I think back to College Pro Painters, it would be recruiting and hiring and training Elon Musk's brother, Kimball
Mm,
Musk, who worked for me in '93, as did his cousin Peter Reeve, who built Solar City. It's the ability to have built my own business for the last 14 years and worked for myself and been able to have time with my family and kids. And for me, business isn't about money. The money's
yeah.
come easy. The money, just as I keep focused on what I'm doing,
Yeah.
it's easy to make money. It's me. It's been about the free time.
Yeah.
Really, I just came back from 3.5 weeks vacation 2 weeks ago, and I'm
Mm,
leaving on vacation again in 15 days for another week, and then I'm planning another one a month from now that I'm going to go to Turkey. So I'll have done 6 weeks vacation in 3 months, completely unplugged, right? So I think for me, the pride comes in that I've built something that
mhm.
gives me a great life.
I love that. As you shared in your book, the different things that you're building, the vision. And when was that book written? How long ago? I should have researched that.
I think Vivid Vision came out about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
Double Double came out around 11 years ago. The most recent is Free PR, and I co-authored that with a former coaching client of mine that I coached 10 years ago, and we just taught people how to land all the free press coverage that we've both been able to do over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. But I just I love the clarity that you have on what you want to build so that you have residual income so that really ultimately you have the freedom to choose like, hey, do I want to be on this podcast? Do I want to do this project? Do I want to, or do I want to just take another 3 weeks of vacation? And for me, that is definitely the kind of business or businesses that I want to build to so that I can have the freedom. I love my business. I have two businesses,
And I'll give you an example of one that I said yes to recently.
Oh boy!
So I said I'm saying no to most speaking events. I said yes to doing a speaking event in Antarctica. But the reason I said yes to speaking in Antarctica is actually I had a vision years ago. I'd been paid to speak on 5 continents, and I said for fun that I would speak on all 7. So I actually wrote about it in my Vivid Vision, and then I talked about the fact, and then a former coaching client of mine was organizing a group of CEOs. So anyway, I'm now being paid to go speak in Antarctica in 6 months, and it'll be a pain in the ass trip and go down there.
Yeah.
And it'll be cold, but I get to say that I'll probably be one of the only, if not the only speaker who's ever been paid to speak on all 7 continents.
That's amazing. Is anybody going to be there, or are you just zooming in from Antarctica?
No. There will be about 70 entrepreneurs from around the world,
goodness.
And I think Jimmy Buffett will actually be there as well. So yeah,
Absolutely.
It'll be a kind of cool event.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. Congrats on that. But it is, it's hard in your early years as a founder of a video company to think, in the future, could I build something where I actually have freedom and I can experience other things outside of staying up till 1 a.m. to finish an edit or, doing whatever I can to make a client happy. Is there more to that? Because I know in the grind, in the trenches, it doesn't feel like that. It's like, man, I'm happy if I can put food on the table. That's how I was for the first few years. But then to really dream and have a bigger vision for my life, brings a lot more opportunities for freedom and things that I've been able to experience because I had a little bit bigger dream than just providing food for my family.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the excitement as well, is in that grind, in that day to day. Again, much like building a home, right? If you've built a home or if you've watched a home being built, when you watch them pouring the foundation and putting up the walls, it takes 6 months to do what doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And then all of a sudden the windows go in. It's whoa, and then they put the siding on, and all of a sudden it frames out really fast. But a lot of those foundational blocks seem to take forever, and I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs can get frustrated. It feels like forever. But if you and we're always setting more goals and building something bigger, so it feels like we're never done.
Right.
But that's kind of like chasing the horizon, right? If you're only going to be happy when you get to the horizon, you never get there.
Yeah.
So what you need to do, that Vivid Vision gives you a 3-year push. And by the time you get there, you realize how much you've accomplished. So then you write your next 3-year Vivid Vision and you drive towards that. But it keeps showing you how far you've actually come.
Mm-hmm. When I'm curious, we do. Are you familiar with Traction or EOS?
Yeah, I know Gino Wickman quite well.
Yeah, so he's a Michigan. He's from our area, so it's kind of a little point there. We do 10-year. We do 3-year, we do 1 year, and then we do quarterly goals. And every year when we do our yearly planning, we relook at our 10-year. That one usually doesn't change. The 3-year can change, and obviously the 1 and the quarters will. But when you're doing kind of the practice, do you not touch the 3-year goal or the 3-year vision until year 3, or is it kind of like an amoeba?
Yeah, the 3-year component part is what you don't touch at all unless there's a massive kind of cataclysmic shift in the world that you have to completely pivot, right?
And there would never be one of those. Nobody would.
Well, but for most businesses, even going through COVID, it really didn't change everything.
Yeah.
Right. It maybe nudged you 10 degrees. My sister's company had to completely pivot. Right. She had 78 employees and she ran co-ed intramural sports leagues for 150,000 people. So her business was shut down completely. So she just launched a new business and she did $2 million in revenue in her first year with 80% gross margin. So she's just figured some new shit out, right? Whereas most businesses, even if you're a restaurant, you can still mostly operate. You just you had to bob and weave a little bit. So
Yep.
yeah, you don't change the vivid vision completely. You just iterate along the way.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's really powerful. One other thing that I want to touch on. One of the things 5 years ago that changed the trajectory of my business, two things. I had a woman who was working for me really as an administrative assistant, and I had another employee who left, and she stepped up and she looked at me and she handed me this stack of papers she had just printed from the copier. They're still warm, and I looked and it said, "How to know when you need an operations manager." And I start reading this thing, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is this is exact."
There's one thing that Gino doesn't say in Traction that I think is a disservice to most people, and it's that if you don't have an executive assistant, you are one. And before you hire a second in command, before you hire an integrator or an ops person, hire an executive assistant or a fractional executive assistant, because it saves you at least a year.
Yes.
And you pay much less and you get all the administrative off your plate. But to go out and hire an integrator before you hire an executive assistant, you're doing it backwards.
Yeah, I love that, because people will ask me, like, well, what should I hire? And I'm like, well, project manager was huge for me, but when we had that person transform into an ops person, it was a game changer, because she knew the business, she knew where we were headed, what we needed to, and she was doing all of these things. She knew and I have a implementer friend who said, your project manager or your operations person, they're just like a glorified project manager, because in a business, you've got all these things that really can be seen as projects. So for me, that changed for Lindsay to step in this role as our integrator, as our operations person. And then shortly thereafter, we started applying the principles inside of EOS and practicing EOS for our business. So those two things had a massive, massive impact for me, because I no longer was I the executive assistant. I had freedoms that I never had in my business. And I was like, this is really what I wanted when I owned a business. I don't want to be doing all the hiring, firing, taxes, numbers, all that stuff. I want to be creating, I want to be, impacting culture, working with founders, all that stuff. So I still, I'm so passionate and excited about when people realize oh, okay, so there's visionaries in businesses and there's integrators, and which one am I? Most that start a video company fall in the, I'm the visionary, I'm the creative, and they desperately need somebody or could use the help of an executive assistant or an operations person. Can you speak into size of business, or I think even your suggestion there to get an executive assistant, that could be a huge step in the right direction for clarity, for freedom, all that stuff.
I think for any size business, the first step is to start taking a look at all of the different projects and stuff that needs to get done. So before we say I need to hire somebody, you don't need to hire somebody, you need to get more stuff done.
Yeah.
So take all the stuff and put it into buckets, right? I need to get this stuff done, I need to get this stuff done, I need to get this stuff done. Who can do this stuff, and what would a person doing this stuff be called, right? Because some of the stuff might be, oh, that's an executive assistant. Yeah. Great, I'll just get an executive assistant. And once I get all the executive assistant stuff off my plate, wow, now I've got bigger projects. Can my EA do that? Yes, no. Okay, I need a project manager or a director of operations, or a VP operations. I talked to someone the other day and he's got 12 employees and he said, my COO. I'm like, wait. If you have 12 employees, you don't have a COO. You don't even have a VP operations. You've got a general manager or maybe a director of operations or maybe an ops manager. He's like, well, what's the difference? I'm like, well, what they think their role is and how much they think they're supposed to get paid. Because, but it's true, right? The head of finance could be a controller, director of finance, VP of finance, or CFO, but 20 years ago to get a C-level title, you had to be a major player at a major company.
Right.
And we're giving away titles that are too big because we don't think it's important. But trust me, it becomes very, very important.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's really helpful. I'm going to make sure my operations director listens to this episode. Oh, goodness. When somebody, so let's just say, I'm a solopreneur, but I'm I've got all these projects and I've got a backlog, so I probably need an editor, right? That's one of the buckets where I'm going to get a ton of time back.
Well, and again, do you need an editor or do you need some editing work done for you? Because you might need some editing work done for you that can be done by a freelancer.
Yep.
So maybe it's not even a full-time editor. Maybe it's a freelancer that does some editing for you once every 2 weeks or once a week.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. And it's also like, well, maybe you need a producer. Maybe you need somebody that can work with the editor or hire a contracted editor because, again, it's like more busy work. It's more, thinking about the project and you want to move on to the next project. So there's lots of areas, lots of things, kind of like what you're saying. It's like you need to look at your business, the direction that you're going, what you want to be doing, and then start labeling like, well, what are those things that either I don't want to do or that seem like a waste of time that somebody else can be doing. So let's just say somebody gets to that spot where they're feeling like, man, I need an operations person or, maybe not a COO, but what characteristics or what things should people be looking for in somebody that is going to operate parts of the business or operate the business?
So the first one is you're looking for a high degree of trust because you're handing over parts of your business that you're not used to someone else doing. So you really need to have a high degree of trust in that person. You're looking for somebody who is good at putting systems and processes in place. Most entrepreneurs are not. You're looking for someone who's good at asking questions to truly understand the project before they get started. Most entrepreneurs start and they figure it out later. So you're looking for, that high fact finder, high follow through versus a high quick start.
That's really good.
And then on the tactical stuff, you're looking for someone who's a good project manager, good multitasker, someone who doesn't overcomplicate things.
Yeah, I love it.
In the entrepreneurial firm, it's about how much stuff can we get done, right? It's about more, getting more shit done by less people faster. Yep. It's not about perfect. It's about minimum viable everything when you're a small company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Well, what's your, as we wind down here, I'm curious to know, when you came out with Vivid Vision, we're a few years after that, a lot of stuff has happened in the meantime. What is your vision? What's your vision for the next 3 years or the next 10 years? Like, what do you want to, how do you want to continue to impact the world or what do you want to do?
Yeah. So for my business, I only lean out 3 years for my Vivid Vision. If you go any further than that, you kind of fall out and it seems so far out, you don't actually work on it. So my 3-year vision of what I'm building right now is building out the COO Alliance to around 500 members globally, where we have only second in commands of companies doing at least 5 million in revenue. They're part of an organization. Everyone else is building groups for entrepreneurs. For me, there's no entrepreneurs allowed. It's only the second in commands. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I'll be working on my 6th book, which is around the 2-in-a-box model of the CEO, COO, and really how to actually attract and retain. But I'm going to do a 2-sided book. One side is for the CEO recruiting COOs, and then if you flip it over and read it the other side, it'll be for COOs looking to find the right company to work for and how to identify the right fit, because it's really that yin and yang. So working on that, and then really just kind of scaling up the business so that it operates without me. So putting all the systems and people in place so that it doesn't need me to scale.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is one of the best things that you have done as you've built these businesses?
It's always hiring people because it needs to get done, but not by me. Yeah. So, it's a little bit of that lazy entrepreneur that I've got these visions and goals. It's kind of like cleaning my house. Like my house needs to get clean, but why should I clean it? Right. I need to have food, but why should I cook it all? Like there's, I need my house painted, but I'm not going to go paint it. So the more that I actually outsource and hire people to do stuff, that actually spins off more stuff, and then that momentum creates momentum.
Yep. Oh man, so good, so spot on. Cameron, this has been a huge gift for me. Where can people find you, follow you online? Where are you hanging out?
One thing they should all check out is my course that I launched recently. We didn't talk about, but it's called Invest in Your Leaders. So if they look up investinyourleaders.com, or if they just look at the course link on my COO Alliance website or the Cameron Herold website, the Invest in Your Leaders course is certainly worth it. And then all 5 of my books are available on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes if they just look up my name.
Yeah, awesome. And how do you want to leave us today?
Well, I guess the one parting thing I've been thinking a lot about is that none of this actually matters. We're all going to die, and none of this really matters. That this is just what we do to make money. So let's have some fun along the way because we're all just walking each other home.
I love that, man. That's really good. Cameron, thank you so much. Seriously, this was what a gift to be able to spend time with you. And congrats on the success that you've had, and I seriously am hoping that your vision continues to play out, because it is impacting businesses like mine. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, Ryan. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So where are you at? What do you think about creating a vivid vision? Leave a comment and let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts on this episode. Super fun. We're going to be rolling out more information on the Onward Summit shortly. If you're not on the list to be notified about this in-person event, make sure that you sign up here. Tickets are going to sell out. Go to studiosherpas.com/onward. I'll also be posting information inside of the Facebook group. So if you're not part of the group yet, you can search Grow Your Video Business on Facebook and get in that way, or you can just type in studiosherpas.com/Facebook and it will take you to the Grow Your Video Business in Facebook. That's all I got for today, other than a friendly reminder that you have got this, my friend. You've got what it takes to build a video business that thrives and also gives you the freedom in your life that you desperately long for. I'll see you next week. Onward and upward.